Okay, so after I clean everything up a little bit, I'm gonna go and start covering everything in the background with a light coat of 2H pencil. So we don't want to have anything white other than the highlights. So we're just gonna start doing some cross hatching and get some type of middle tone for the whole thing. So this can be time consuming. So still take it slow, just go with the 2H and make sure that you're consistent with the line so it will save you time. At the beginning it doesn't matter if the lines go everywhere as long as they are the same tone, about the same consistency. Because we're gonna kind of blend there, so all those lines are gonna kind of be disappearing after a while. So just take your time and continue all over the whole page. So I'm gonna kind of finish the bottom and then I'm gonna stop the camera to cover the whole thing to save time. You don't need to be watching me cover the whole thing for a long time, so you get the idea. Okay, so I covered all the background. I want to make sure that most of the paper is all somehow covered. I didn't cover the edges just so you can see the difference. Even though it's subtle, it will make a difference on your phone. So I'm going a little bit more. So I did all this with 2H pencil. Just keep it light for now. The main thing is just cover everything white. So I'm just going a little bit more. So I'm gonna blend that a bit, but don't overdo it. So if you notice, I'm not blending the objects anymore after a while because you don't want to get them fuzzy. Just you get to a point where you have to stop blending. So these should cover all the whites. So now the whitest thing we have on the picture, other than this border that I left intentionally, is these highlights here on the edges and in here. So I feel that we need more contrast. So I'm gonna go with the 2B and I'm gonna go back and start looking at the darkest areas again and make them a bit darker. So I'm gonna look at the core of the sphere, the dark side, and touch it up a bit more. So right now, some of the changes will be very subtle, but they will make a difference when we're done. So we'll continue. So when you're cross-hatching, especially when you cover the whole page, it's very tiring. So you can put it on your lap, put the drawing pad on your lap, or anything that makes you comfortable. But when you go back to doing fine details and all that, make sure you're in a comfortable position. I prefer this vertical position because it gives you a better view of everything. But it's not necessarily a rule that you have to be in a vertical position. So I feel go a little bit darker there. So right now I'm using 2B because that's what I've been using for the dark areas. I feel I can move the dark side a little bit farther in. So I'm gonna go on this dark side here too. I want it darker. But I still want to leave some of the light area right inside here. Um, it's barely noticeable, but it does make a difference, like I said before. Just compare objects against each other. So the edge of the sphere against the rectangle is very, very light, and the box looks very dark, so I want to go a little bit deeper in there. So from the corner, from the top, I like to go from dark to light, leave the center, no reflection, so I have to deepen this area here a bit. And in here. Darker, but it's still also leaving a little bit of lighter on the center of the box. I want to increase the contrast in here. And this shadow. There is a bit of a shadow here too. Here. So there's also a bit of a reflection here on this small cube is reflecting a little bit on the top of this box. So I'm gonna lift some of the graphite with the needle eraser, just very lightly lift some of that. So that gives it even more dimension in the whole picture. Seems like it goes in that way. And there's also here a little bit of a reflection. Oops. There must have been something on my eraser. I'll make something darker in there. So just erase that. Sometimes you have little pieces of lead in the eraser. If you lay it around like where you sharpen a pencil, so you have to be careful with that. I'm gonna make the reflection here. So that's why it's important to cover the background at least with some type of darker tone, even if it's very small, so we'll be able to bring these very subtle things out. Put a little bit more of that. So we got that reflection in there, so there might be a little bit of reflection here with this sphere too. I'm gonna bring it out. But don't press too hard, just kind of do it very, very low pressure. Just rub it several times instead of going one time and do it too much. So also I see some of my fingerprints. And that's always going to happen because we do have oils on the hand, even if we wash them. I wash my hands a lot before I started back on the drawing. But after I cover everything, I can still see some of my prints in some areas. But that's not a big deal. You can just dab it with the eraser and take the extra graphite that got stuck in there. So I feel that this reflection needs to be enhanced a little bit more, so I'm gonna go around here and darken this area. Very subtle though, I don't want it too much. So I'm gonna cover that. a little bit more. So this shadow needs to be connected better in there. I'm gonna change the pencil to be, and I feel this shadow is darker right here. And then this shadow kind of goes bigger and very light, so I have to add a little bit more. So this part is kind of not very sharp. There is not much difference where it ends. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. I do want to make this darker. It seems like I lost the contrast here. Also this little shadow that goes here in the back. So we're still using only 2B pencil. I'm not using any other higher pencil. So all I'm using is just the pressure to make it darker. This pencil can go a lot darker, but I want to keep the picture consistent. So I don't want to press too hard, too soon. So I feel that's good. Over here in the back. And I want to bring the edge a little bit sharper on the dark side here against that shadow. So I can go darker. And here I think it's fine. I'm not going to get too dark because I don't want to get a line around it. But just here, make it sharper. Okay. So this core area can be darker there too. So now you see I'm not blending at all. There's no more blending to be done. Because everything's covered, everything white is already covered, so there's no need to blend too much. So you try to keep consistent cross-hatching to avoid too dark areas against too light to create a texture. So all I'm doing now is just making my darks darker. So that can take time, but I still want to show you. Just keep going. I feel like here I can go a little bit darker. And in here, especially from the back, I want to go deeper in there. So I want to make sure this edge doesn't get lost with this sphere. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just clean up the edge. I'm trying not to touch the paper because I'm left-handed. I usually rub the drawings, So it's good to grab the pencil this way. The end of the pencil in the palm of your hand, and you're using your arm instead of just a little bit use your fingers. You get this round cross hatching going. You don't want that. So I want to sharpen that edge there. So I feel start almost getting done. So basically all you want to do with this is that you want to show the shapes, the objects, and with black and white you have to leave area for highlights, and that is going to be the paper. So nothing else can be white. So if something's light, it's not going to be the same as the highlight. The highlight is white. The rest is somehow light, but it's not the same. So you have to have some degree of dark. So that's what we did the background. So then some of the light areas show. We're able to do these reflections here. Even though subtle, they do make a difference in your drawing. So I feel that for now I will stop, but I'm gonna decide if I want to do more on the background to get the shapes to be able to enhance them more. But right now, the main point of this drawing is just to learn the basic shapes, how to work the shading on basic shapes, how to use the pencils, how to do the cross hatching, and what things to pay attention. So it's good to work in order, kind of starting covering everything at once, then look at the darks and go from there. That will keep the drawing organized and consistent. So if I wanna stop now, I can say, well, this could be done now. There's nothing unfinished or something to enhance, and the other things I just outline. You always wanna have consistent on everything you do. Just work a little bit on all the areas. So I'm going to decide if I'm going to do more on the background. But for now, this is looking fine. I will have to step back and decide if I want to do more. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop now, look back, and see if I need to do more and work more on the background.